Hello, Kev from DataSights here, and in this video we're going to show you how you can automate your data to Google Sheets so that it starts performant and stays performant, avoiding frustrations that tend to happen with Google Sheets over time where it slows down and people start losing their toys basically. So quite simply, what you don't want to do, irrespective of how you get data into Google Sheets, is put more data than what you actually need. So the good old 5 million cell limit in Google Sheets overall is going to limit you, but in order to keep things performant, you really want to do two things. Limit both the columns that you don't need coming through, and then also put some sort of date rolling window in it. So if you only really need the last 3 months, last 6 months, last 2 years, whatever the historical window period you need, you want to set up your automation so that it's going to essentially just keep that historical window and then be a rolling window of that data. If you want to do large historical analysis, then Google Sheets is not the tool for you. So if you are copying data in manually, don't do that. It's not 2001. If you are pulling in data from an awesome tool like Geocon, for example, just make sure that what you're pulling in is a minimal amount of set. We don't follow that approach. Going direct from an API can be slow, and it also limits you in the amount of detailed data that you can sort of then focus and bring through. So the way to do that in our platform is that we don't allow people to essentially push in raw tables of data. So what I mean by that is, if you look at the zero data, we're pulling in all the invoices, and say we wanted to get some invoices through to Google Sheets. We're not going to allow you to push data in its raw format for exactly the reasons that I mentioned on first. Putting in a little bit of effort now, which I'll show you shortly, means that you're working with this nice little curated data set, and if you start performant, you're going to stay performant with those two tips. So lots of ways to limit data down, but the easiest way really, especially if you're not technical, is to use ChatGPT. So from here we can go into zero, and we can say that we definitely want to work with the invoices table, and then we can say show me the customers and amounts owed greater than zero. And what it's going to do is it's going to look at this big invoices table that we've given it, and it's going to do exactly that. So if we now run this, we can now verify that that looks great. We can now create a SQL view. We can call this zero debtors, or let's just say what it is, zero invoices, amounts owed. And now really you're free to pull that into whatever reporting tool you want, but the main reason that we're here today is to look at the Google Sheet push service. So to add that to a sheet, we go add new, we select the view that we want. I think we called it invoices amounts owed. We then have to go to a new sheet, and the only really sort of tricky part is copying this Google Sheet ID. So put that in there, and then we can call this whatever we want. This is just a nice name. Invoices amounts owed. This is a nice name so we can identify it, or you can identify it. And then the very important part, need to make sure that this tab is exactly named as that, so we know where to push the data to essentially. And now we can hit save. And there's one other little step involved, and that is just once for the first time. If it's the first time that you're enabling us to automate data into this Google Sheet, is that you need to go and share the sheet with our API user essentially. From there, to get the data in, there's two ways. You can either just trigger a fresh refresh here, which will then subsequently, as you can see here, triggered successfully, go and automatically put in that data there. And then of course, under the syncs here, you can come in and schedule a sync according to whatever automation you want. And as a final end, which is probably where I should have started in the beginning, it's what we're doing under the hood is really making sure that all of your data from all of its all your different sources comes into your dedicated cloud database. That means that we're dealing with everything, or have access to everything rather, and then we're using SQL through ChatGPT, or you can write your own SQL, you can get us to write a SQL to curate that data set, and then you can use our Google Sheet push service to push that through to Google Sheets and do your magic. Okay, cool. Hope that made sense. As always, any questions anytime, fire away. Thank you. Cheers.